voice of Ohio Bobcats football, play-by-play man Marty Bannister, joining us here on the show. Marty, thanks so much for the time. How are you today?
Doing good. Always a pleasure to talk to you guys. How are you today?
We're doing great, and we're excited. I'm sure you guys are excited that there's a football game to actually see in 2 days. I know we are as well with a new coaching staff here. Ohio's got a little bit of momentum, right? Back-to-back 10-win seasons, back-to-back bowl victories. Lost a little bit to the transfer portal, maybe a lot of bit to the transfer portal in the offseason. Bring us up to date on where things stand with this Ohio team heading into 2024.
Well, you said momentum, and that's, I think, an accurate word, but I think you have to look a little deeper into that. Remember now, Tim Albin's staff had to integrate 38 new players from last year, from the bowl game to fall camp. 18 freshmen, 20 transfers they brought in through the portal. So, yes, back-to-back 10-win seasons. A lot of those guys are gone. They've been very happy with what they've seen in camp. But again, very much an unknown factor, I think, this Ohio team when it walks on the field Saturday afternoon at the Dome.
What has worked for Coach Albin, since he's arrived, 3-9 in his first season, which it was, establishing his culture in a rebuilding type year. And then they jumped to 10-4, 10-3. I guess talk about him as a head coach a little bit and what he brings to the table from that perspective.
Well, you asked what has worked, and that can be summed up in one word, and that's defense.
Yeah.
They've been in the top half of the MAC the last 2 years in total team defense, in the top 5, and that's why they've been able to do the things that they have done. They knocked off Iowa State last year in Athens. They played some of the other Power 5 that they've gone up against very tight, and it's because of their defense. Again, that took some hits in the offseason with players transferring out. Tim Albin's one of those guys. He wears his emotion on his sleeve. He doesn't hide how he feels about anything. You ask him a question, you're going to get an answer. He's brought a very family-oriented type atmosphere to Athens. And I know that gets overblown sometimes. We've all heard that. Oh, we're one big family. We all love each other. And sometimes that can fall into the yada-yada category. But at the same time, I think it works in Athens. And his staff, they are behind this guy 100%. That 3-9 you mentioned, I don't want to say anomaly, but remember, guys, he didn't get the job till mid-July that year. So he really didn't have much time to become Tim Albin. He was still basically working with the remnants of the Frank Solich final season. But he's a very upfront, lay it on the line type guy. He will tell you exactly how he feels. I think the players and the staff all admire and relate to that.
And along those lines, we heard his press conference from earlier in the week, Coach Albin. And, he said that one of the things he was most worried about was how the team's going to tackle in this first game, that it's hard to, replicate game conditions and game speed in practice. And, you always worry with the first game kind of shaking off the rust. How will you tackle, especially against a Power 5 program in Syracuse? That's what he's concerned about. From where you sit, what are you concerned about, Marty, in terms of, what is the weakness of this team in your mind?
Well, I think the comments by Albin about concerned about tackling, and I know defensive coordinator John Hauser very well, and that's his big concern too, and I will just echo that, is just again, because as you guys know, Syracuse has brought in a number of their own transfers, and a number of them are SEC pedigree. So that's a concern that Ohio might get out-skilled or out-athleted, if I can destroy a phrase for you. That's a concern of John Hauser and his defensive staff. They want to keep everybody in front of them. They don't want anything over their heads. That's the big concern defensively for Ohio right now, is not letting this become, for lack of a better term, guys, a track meet.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, what are the strengths of this team? And I guess let's talk a little bit about the personnel and some of the the key players that SU fans should be looking out for on Saturday.
Well, it starts with the quarterback, Parker Navarro. He made his second start of the last year in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and it came when, again, Curtis Rourke transferred out, went into the portal after the regular season ended. They lost both of their two top running backs to the portal before the bowl game, and he stepped in and managed the game well. It didn't hurt that the running back who stepped in, Ricky Hunt Jr., scored 5 touchdowns. It didn't hurt at all in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. But those are two of your guys you want to watch. And also a wideout who joined the program in the transfer portal, Coleman Owen. They are very high on him. He's only been with the program, 5 months, and he was voted a captain for this season. Lanky guy that can get downfield, stretch the defense. He's a guy to keep an eye on the offensive side. Those are the big three to watch.
We keep talking about the transfer portal, and, I would imagine, listen, everybody deals with it, right? Everybody loses players, everybody gains players. Is it tougher for a program like Ohio, a non-Power 4 program to, have a net gain, I guess, coming out of the offseason when it comes to the portal? Especially last year, it sounds like a lot of their best players ended up going elsewhere.
Oh, there's no question. No question. And a lot of times, Tim has said that Ohio and the MAC are developmental programs, almost like I guess for lack of a better term, a farm system.
Yeah.
Because, look at the situation at Miami of Ohio, the flag that Chuck Martin caught for basically calling out Alabama for, as he said, stealing his kicker. Tim has said a number of times, Chuck's my hero. He stepped up and said what a lot of us feel right now. But that's the worry for teams like Ohio and schools like the MAC and some of these other D5 schools. They're concerned that they're going to get a guy who's going to do great things, and before you know it, they're off to a Power 5 school. And it's a very difficult situation. It's very tough for these schools, but really there's no way to fight this right now.
Yeah, unfortunate. Yes. Can you speak to, I guess, expectations going into this year? Coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons, as you said, a lot of new faces. What are the expectations in Athens?
Well, the non-conference schedule I think is interesting because, of course, we'll be in Syracuse on Saturday. Then there are a couple of home games that I think when you start doing these things, you say Ohio can win them, South Alabama, and then Morgan State. And then there's a trip to Kentucky to round out the non-conference schedule. But this team right now, well, I tell you, if Tim can do 8 to 10 wins again, then he's got to be coach of the year in the MAC. There's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of new faces that are going to take some time. And with the MAC doing away with divisions this year, they can be in the mix. I don't think there's any question about it. Favorable home schedule, but I don't think 8 to 10 wins is without. It's not a big ask right now.
We had Fran Brown on the show a little bit earlier, and we asked him, what defines success for him in year one. This is, as you know, his first game as a head coach, and so a lot of emotions for Fran Brown coming into this one. I want to ask you from an Ohio perspective, what is success on Saturday? Because we know they're big underdogs, 17-point underdogs, whatever it is now. What defines success for the Bobcats on Saturday? Is it strictly winning the game? Is it a building block for this season? What would you say would be a successful day?
Yes.
All of that.
all of that right there, it would sum it up. Obviously, walk out of the dome with a
Marty, I think we lost you. I don't know if you can hear us. Marty, are you there? I think we lost Marty. We got disconnected.
Oh, no, there you are.
You got us back, Marty?
Bad area.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
He went under a bridge.
Potentially. Let's try one more time.
I'm sorry, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Still here, guys.
All right, we got you. We got you back. No worries at all. We got you back.
The rolling hills of Southeast Ohio interfere with cell phone signals.
No worries at all. But you were saying, aside from the win, I guess what else are they looking to accomplish on Saturday?
Not get physically manhandled.
Yeah.
That's a big concern as well too going into this one because again, Ohio doesn't have the overall size to deal with what Syracuse, especially on the offensive line. That's another big concern of defensive coordinator John House. Don't get manhandled. Don't get out physical. Be in the game in the fourth quarter. Have a chance to win. I think that's something that they won't say it publicly, but I think they can walk out of the dome feeling pretty good about.
All right, last one then, just to follow up on that. You say give themselves a chance to win in the fourth quarter. What will it take to do that? Lay out the blueprint for us of how this is a fourth quarter game and undecided going into that final 15 minutes.
Well, I think Ohio's going to have to run the ball, number one, and keep Syracuse's offense off the field. That's an old coaching cliche. You've heard it. I've heard it over the years. Those are things they're going to have to do. Parker Navarro is going to have to manage the game, make the throws he needs to make to keep Syracuse, keep their offense off the field. And the defense is going to have to be at its best against the things that Syracuse does. There's concerns about the Lawrence getting to the edge on offense and then turning it, as I said earlier, into some type of a track meet type game. That can't happen. If Ohio can do that on both sides of the ball, I think we're going to have ourselves a game in the fourth quarter Saturday.
All right, we're all looking forward to it. I know you are as well, Marty. 3:30 kick inside the Dome on Saturday. We appreciate the time. Enjoy your time in the 315, and hopefully we can talk again down the road.
Always, I appreciate the time, guys. Call anytime.
All right, Marty Bannister, voice of the Ohio Bobcats, joining us here on the show.